Princess Glenna cannot harm me. If she does, Elyan will die. At Elisia's explanation, Franz tilted his head in confusion. He spoke with a surprised expression. I'm glad to hear you're not in danger, but I don't see what this has to do with Elyan. Before she answered, Elisia looked at Sarah. Sarah handed her the jewelry box and quietly left the room. As the sound of the door closing echoed, Elisia opened the jewelry box. Lowering his gaze, Franz also looked at the box. Pointing to the rings one by one, Elisia explained, "This is the Creighton Mana Stone, and this is the Elyan Mana Stone." Holding out Elyan's ring, Elisia continued, "And Princess Glenna has pledged this Mana Stone in a written oath. She has sworn to never harm Elisia Eustace, no matter what." The first princess signed something like this? How did you pull it off? I showed her the necklace that Her Majesty the Empress had given me. She had been coveting it for a long time. Then why is the necklace still here? Franz's gaze turned to the necklace still lying on the dressing table. Elisia shrugged lightly. Because I never gave it to her. Elisia smiled slyly. How could I give up something offered by Her Majesty the Empress? Not that I intended to at all. It was just a taste. The moment she finished speaking, a warm hug surrounded her. Franz embraced her tightly, letting out a long sigh of relief. Never do anything dangerous again. It wasn't serious enough to die from. If I had known this would happen, I would have asked you to promise not to do anything risky at all. He released her and looked at her intently. His gaze was full of affection, directed solely at her. It differed from the guilt-ridden looks he'd been giving her earlier. Why was he looking at me like that? Her cheeks flushed under Franz's gaze. Embarrassed by his intense stare, she cleared her throat and looked away. This. Elisia tried to change the subject. Franz responded gently in a soft voice, and he kissed her ear. Her fingertips trembled at the unexpected touch. The heart she had once controlled began to flutter violently again. Get a hold of yourself. Elisia tightened her gaze. She never completely forgave Franz. She couldn't. As long as the heavy guilt about the child weighed on her like a stone, forgiveness was impossible. After taking revenge on Crichton, it would be Franz's turn. Right now, she had only temporarily allied with him. She couldn't allow herself to hesitate. Hadn't Franz himself said that she should not forgive him? Elisia had no intention of forgiving him. However, recently, whenever she faced his tenderness, her heart trembled. The anger that had taken root so deeply when she first returned seemed to slowly fade away. Now, she had to calm herself down several times just to keep hating him. She wanted to end her revenge on Crichton before that anger completely disappeared. This way, Franz's turn would come sooner, and she would be able to carry out her revenge without hesitation. Tell me. How about this? A gentle voice interrupted her thoughts. It was a soft tone that tickled her heart. Don't fall in love with him. Elisia, who longed for Franz's affection, was a thing of the past. The current Elisia was not hungry for his love. So you will not be upset or affected by mere words. Elisia shook her head slightly, then reached into the jewelry box. She put the Elyan Mana Stone back inside and took out the Creighton Stone. This is Crichton's Mana Stone. With this, we control Crichton's heart. Now that we have his heart, the only thing left is his head. Glenna and Elyan will take over that part. If we take down Elyan, Glenna can be kicked out of the palace as well. Franz held Crichton's ring tightly and said, "The time for revenge is not far away." At his firm voice, Elisia bit her lip. The time for revenge was already approaching. First Crichton, then, the time for revenge on Franz will come as well. Elyan blinked. His body, enveloped in the softness of the bed, felt heavy. A painful moan escaped his lips. During a conversation with the second prince, a sharp pain pierced his heart, and he collapsed. Everything after that was a blur. When he woke up, he found himself in a bedroom in his palace. Finally I woke up. Now, the second prince stood before him. Elyan was surprised to see the man in his room. A royal noble's visit to a private palace was unprecedented. Even Crichton hadn't visited since their marriage. Confused, Elyan tried to sit up. Your Highness. Stay lying down. The second prince waved his hand gently. A servant quickly placed a pillow behind Elyan's back. Gratefully, Elyan sat down to talk to the prince. Forgive me for presenting this hideous condition. I was never like this before. I don't know why. Stammering in embarrassment, Elyan noticed the prince watching him closely. Trying to lighten the situation, he spoke again. But, Your Highness, what brings you here? Am I not allowed to be here? And not at all. I'm just sorry that the palace is so modest. No need to apologize. The second prince signaled, and the room quickly emptied, leaving just the two of them. An awkward atmosphere filled the air. Elyan hoped the prince would mention his matter and leave quickly. Although he had obtained the mining rights in Dafa from the second prince, their relationship was not necessarily cordial. The scoundrel would often embarrass him or make snarky comments, making it impossible to like him. Especially now that Elyan and Crichton were planning to monopolize a new market, the inconvenience increased. Thanks to the intervention of the second prince, they were forced to sell the silk of Mount Istria at fair prices. To make up for the losses, we came up with a new plan, sugar. Recently, Her Highness Madeline, Princess Consort 2, had been buying sweets voraciously, despite the annoying name. Even those who could not afford it found ways to raise money to buy sweets. Given the situation, even if sugar prices rose, no one would suspect anything. They would simply blame demand outstripping supply. Elyan smiled maliciously, thinking about his warehouses being filled once again. The idea of making money calmed him down. He would take it easy, stock up on sugar, and wait. He probably wouldn't fire him right away. Annoying as it was, thanks to him, Elyan had obtained Dafa. And soon, a mana stone mine that would fill his pockets even more. Dafa had just started digging. Full mining would not begin for at least 6 months. Elyan planned to survive those 6 months with profits from storing sugar. Even after splitting it with Crichton, it would still be a huge profit. This was how he intended to raise prices. It wouldn't be long before he no longer had to see that arrogant second prince again. Elyan's goal was clear, to place Crichton on the throne before he began mining the mana stone. The position of crown prince rightfully belonged to Crichton. And the throne too. Once that happened, the Cornets would not merely be a family that produced a prince's wife, they would produce an empress. And Elyan would become the empress's father. After defeating even the Roshanak family, Cornet would become the only prestigious family in the empire. Just imagining it made him laugh. His heart still ached, but the mood was too good to care. It is said that laughter is the best medicine. I have misunderstood you all this time, Your Highness. To handle things so fairly, you will not regret giving Dafa to the Cornei family. Feeling satisfied, Elyan's flattering words flowed easily. The second prince, who had been staring at Glenna's picture on the wall, turned around. His sharp gaze pierced straight through. Misunderstanding? Does that mean you thought I was biased? And no. Of course not. I just thought, well, coming from the family of the prince's first wife, I might have been politically cautious. You know how these things go. True, after His Majesty's collapse, things have become distant between me and Crichton. Exactly. That's what I meant. Ha ha ha, as Elyan laughed nervously, the prince's gaze narrowed. He looked at Elyan for a moment before speaking again. Since we're talking about His Majesty, isn't it strange? He was perfectly healthy, but he suddenly collapsed. Just like you did today. Without any warning. What do you think caused it? Exhaustion, like you? Well, the question about me won't, then who should I ask? Wasn't His Majesty closest to you? Then tell me, Elyan. Why do you think that happened? Why did His Majesty collapse? The prince's questioning was relentless. Elyan felt like a trapped mouse. His mind, still foggy from just waking up, couldn't think clearly. Only one thought consumed him, escaping this situation. I don't know. So who knows? If not you, then who? Not me. Elyan's eyes wandered, finally settling on the image of Glenna. With trembling lips, he spoke. Not me, ask Her Highness, the wife of the first prince. Mistake. Elyan uttered the words instinctively, then quickly closed his mouth. His face turned pale. Meanwhile, a slow, deep smile spread across the second prince's face.